Just watch Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Or actually, Sweet Life on Deck is the superior of the two shows, but you get my drift. Maybe I'll watch some Riverdale, actually. I heard that's good. I don't only watch stuff with a Sprouse in it, but that was just the logic there. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started here. So our first story is going to be, and I do have to forgive me, I think someone might have suggested this on YouTube, but I always try to go back and find, I was like, okay, I started looking into this, and I was like, I think someone suggested this, and I looked through my comments, and I couldn't find anything, so if I forgot it, I apologize. If no one suggested it, then I'm just going crazy. So the first story we're going to look at is the compelling case of the Forrest Fenn treasure. Now, Forrest Fenn was an art dealer. He's kind of an eccentric man around town. And this is in the 2000s, so very, very recently. He got diagnosed with cancer, and he was like, he beat it, and he's in remission, but the doctor said, it can come back. And he's like, well, okay, I'm just not going to wait around to die. What I'm going to do is, if the cancer comes back, I'm going to take all these valuable collectibles. Collectibles is probably not right word for it, but he was an art dealer, art collector. He said, I'm going to take all these valuable artifacts that I have, put them in a treasure chest, walk off into the wilderness with my life story and a bottle of pills and my treasure chest. And when they find my body, they'll find all of this treasure and my story. So basically, he would just go out there, get to a nice little spot, take all the pills, pass away. Not the most concise plan, because most likely he would take a bunch of pills and then wake up in his own vomit and be super weak and be stuck out in the middle of nowhere. And it's really hard to die from an overdose of pills, but he's all groggy and then a bunch of wolves show up and slowly eat him. Not the best plan, not the best thought out plan, but what happened was the cancer didn't come back. And he kind of, as time went on, he goes, you know what? I like the first part of that plan. Take out the suicide part of it. Let's go do a treasure hunt. Let's do a real life treasure hunt. Now, he grew up and he read all the books about, I don't know the exact titles, but he read mystery books and Hardy Boy stuff, treasure stuff. So he decides to, again, load up this chest. Now, he has a bronze chest that he begins filling with riches, basically. It says here it has emeralds, rubies, diamonds, gold coins that he'd collected at gun shows and auctions, 2 gold nuggets he got as large as chicken eggs, and an old Navajo bracelet with, and I'm quoting here, 22 prehistoric turquoise disc beads inlaid in silver. He loads up his treasure chest, goes to the Rockies, buries it at a spot that he knows. That's just the first part of it. Now he has to start the treasure hunt. So he writes a book called The Thrill of the Chase, and basically it's his life story. And in the book, it has clues to where the treasure is buried. Big part of the clues is he has a poem in there, which we'll get to in a bit, but he has a poem in there that he says if you decipher the clues, it will tell you where the treasure is buried. Now, of course, this story goes viral fairly quickly. Now, originally you could only buy the book at a bookstore in his town, and it goes for back then a copy went for $35. The book is in high demand now. People are trying to scour the book for the clues. The poem itself is online, and it has a lot of clues. People have obsessed over this because what is in this box is valued between $1 to $2 million. And technically, that's $1 to $2 million tax-free dollars, because if you found the treasure, you could just take it home. If there's anyone who works for the IRS, I'm not saying that that's what I would do. Please don't audit me. But if you found it, you wouldn't really have to claim it, so it would be just $1 to $2 million. Forrest Fenn has said that people have come between 500 feet and 200 feet of where he buried that treasure. He also gave a clue, and he said because of his age, he's in his 70s when he buried it, 70s, 80s, around there. He said that it would be somewhere that a man of my age could get to. So it's not off of a cliff hang, or it's not 20 feet underwater. It's a place that he could go. He said that when he buried it, he kind of sat there for a second and thought, did I just do that? And then he kind of laughed and he's like, yeah, I did. And he realized it was the start of this adventure. So he buried it in 2010. People have been looking for it ever since. No one has ever found it. people are reading his life story, looking for the clues, reading the poem. Now, like anything, of course, people become obsessed with it. There have been 4 deaths that are known to have happened because people were looking for this treasure. People have drowned. People have fallen off of, heights. It's people who aren't equipped to deal with the wilderness, like myself. Like, I've never spent a prolonged amount of time in the wilderness. They find this book and they're like scouring maps and they're trading clues. They have whole websites dedicated to kind of like trading clues. Of course, no one wants to give away their best clues because they're the ones who want to find it. But they're doing all this, but then once the rubber meets the road, once they go out to the wilderness and it's getting cold and there's coyotes howling and stuff like that, it's the Rocky Mountains, so it's not like the most hospitable place in America. You go out there and just, your civilized side starts to break down really quickly and you fall and you get injured and stuff like that. So there's been 4 deaths, people looking for this. And Forrest has said, you know what, I feel bad. Like, that wasn't the point that people were going to go out here and die. I was just hoping to give people a good puzzle to solve. He has not revealed the location of the treasure yet. Nobody's found it. He said that as gold value goes up, if the treasure chest ever reaches to $20 million, he'll retrieve it himself. That sounds like a very odd, arbitrary number. And that seems, even with gold values going up, to go from 2 million to 20 million, he's around 80 right now. So, but whatever. He's like, when it reaches 20 million, I'll go grab it myself. And which again is a really odd statement to make. Now, what happened recently was just on the 19th of October. So what was that, like last week? That was that was last week. Okay, so last week, Forrest Fenn's house got broken into by a guy looking for his treasure in his house, even though he said it was buried in the Rockies. This guy broke into this dude's house, broke into Forrest Fenn's house, ate a sandwich, started digging up the backyard a bit, and then found a box, like a treasure chest, and grabbed it and started running out of the house. And Forrest Fenn, I believe his daughter was there as well. They ended up calling the cops. The treasure chest that he took was just full of towels. And so he was arrested. And now that guy has a GoFundMe for $25,000 to pay for legal fees and to get him back home. See, he was from Pennsylvania. He traveled to Arizona, where Forrest Fenn lives, looking for the money, even though it's not supposedly there at all, it's in the Rockies. And now he's asking for $25,000 to pay his legal fees and to be able to go back home. His family, they were saying that he was really desperate because right now his family only has $130 in the bank. And I sympathize with that. I don't think you probably did your family any favors by traveling pretty much from coast to coast. But desperation, I guess. It seems like it would cost more than $130 to get from Pennsylvania to Arizona. I guess he assumed that he was going to go there and he would find $2 million, he'd be able to go back easier. I don't know, but that's kind of weird. Anyway, so he's stuck in Arizona right now. Forrest Fenn buries a treasure, $1 to $2 million. People are obsessed with it. They've been obsessed with it for the past, 8 years. A couple people have died. One guy broke into his house. He said, and I was looking again on the article, he said the poem, he believed the clues were leading him to this house. So, let's take a look at this poem. So, I'm going to save us some time. I'm not going to read the poem out loud. It's like 16-line poem. I'm not going to read it out loud, one, because it really lacks context unless you have a map or you know the area. Two, it lacks context because the other clues are also in his book, his biography, his autobiography, The Thrill of the Chase. 3, because I believe the whole thing is a hoax. I believe that Forrest Fenn made the whole thing up. I think he made it up for multiple... the reason why I think he made it up is, and people have pointed this out too, for a man in his 70s to carry all of those items in that box, it was a bronze box. The box itself, with all of the items in it, would have weighed about 40 pounds. Now, that's not heavy for a lot of people to carry, short distances, but to hike with that can be troublesome, and when you're in advanced age, to be able to hike with that is troublesome. But let's assume that he's really fit, and that's not a problem. He wanted people to hear his life story. That was his initial thing. They'll find the treasure, they'll find my body, and my biography will be there, and they'll read it. Which, really, what would happen is if you found a corpse, and it had a box of treasure and a bottle of pills next to it and a book, you'll take the treasure, definitely. You may take the book. Depending on who you are, you may take some of the pills. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to treasure that book or even read it. And even if one person does read it and then just throws it away or whatever, it was a bad plan. The idea of hiding a treasure and writing your life story and including clues to find the treasure means people were going to pore over your life story. And he wrote a sequel to it as well. So I think he wanted to get a story out there. I think a lot of times when we see people do stuff like this, I think one of the biggest fears people have is that they are forgotten, or they leave no lasting impact on the world, or any impact at all even. People don't necessarily have to think they're going to leave a lasting impact, but that they have some sort of thumbprint left on the planet. I think that's one of people's most unspoken fears. And now this guy has a legacy. Even after he dies, people are going to be talking about this treasure. I don't think it's out there. I don't think it's buried. The wife of one of the men who died searching for it, she said the same thing. She says it's a hoax. She goes, I totally believe it's a hoax. I totally believe he made it up. And I think him saying stuff like, oh, a group was within 200 feet, a group was within 500 feet. I'm curious to how he knew that. Like, were groups contacting him and saying, I was the last place I looked was by this bush. And he's like, like, how does he know they were so close? He doesn't go on all these expeditions with them. I think it's fake. But yeah, I think the whole thing, I don't think he buried it. I think that he is now someone that people all around the world know about. And people all around the world are reading his biography, which he admits is a little embellished, which is fine. I mean, that's a little irritating, but I think that's the least of his transgressions on this. I do not believe the Forrest Fenn treasure exists. I could be wrong. Someone could dig it up. He could finally dig it up, but I think he's just going to pass away and people will be digging up the Rocky Mountains for the next 100 years. It'll just become a legend, which is what he wanted really in the first place. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.